Ever think about writing a love letter to the owners of a house you want to buy? If you're interested in a new house, how about a love letter to the buyers, sellers? Wouldn't that be interesting? Mark Bloom works in real estate. A love letter to the sellers, Mark. Would that be effective?
I think it is effective. I think that, when you're dealing with home, right, you're dealing with a house. I think a lot of times you're dealing with someone's home, and there are emotional attachments there, especially when you're talking about owning that property versus, say, renting it. There's a lot more that goes into owning a property. Depending on the point in your life, you may have raised your family there. You yourself may have been raised there. Maybe a parent passed away there that used to live there or hasn't passed away yet but has moved on to a different phase of their life. There's a lot of emotion tied to any house that you own, and any time in the bidding and or sales process, if you can tap into emotion, it kind of creates, if done properly, a lot of value that doesn't have anything to do with money, but may, in many cases, be far more powerful than money.
What kind of things go into the letter, Mark?
Here's the thing. So are you genuinely writing this love letter? Then you should be talking about the thing in the house that you genuinely love and why you would like to own it. People have a BS sensor. They're going to know if you're just filling their head with nonsense. So it needs to be things that you truly recognized in the house that you truly like. Can you try and tell them that their house is the best thing and talk about raising your family? And if you're looking strictly just to gain some emotional angle, definitely. Can that work? Sure. Can it backfire? It totally can. I have seen instances, especially if you poke around, there's actually a reality TV show now that is based on this concept where 3 or 4 couples go into a house, they all make their highest and best offer. Above and beyond love letters, they have a 5-minute conversation, and then in this best offer, one gentleman offered like a $40,000 vintage Porsche. Well, he didn't win. The people who won were the people who gave just a normal cash offer as best they could and sat there and talked about their family and the kids and how they wanted to raise their kids in the house. So people have an emotional connection, and they want others to appreciate that in their home.
And again, you say sometime it works, sometime it doesn't. So it's a big risk.
I think it's a risk. I do think that it can backfire in you may get someone who sees it as strictly a ploy. In a tight real estate market, when you've got 10, 15 people bidding on a property, depending on your city, then it may be the difference. It may be at least what gets you recognized. And think about a job offer. If everybody put in their application and then one person sent this thank you note afterwards, hey, thank you for accepting my application. I think your company is wonderful. Yeah, it's just something else.
The issue of personal items when you have an open house going on, you want to sell your home. There's some disagreement, debate among realtors as to how much personal effects should you have displayed in your home. If you follow the advice of some of these HGTV related shows that provide, give you advice on how to sell a house effectively, some say personal pictures, wedding pictures of your kids aren't good because that's not the prospective buyer's life. That's your life. What's your take on personal effects at an open house?
Far be it for me to contradict Home and Garden Television, but I will say, with all jokes aside, I do agree in most part. I think what they're saying, I think what you see a lot of times, people, as we said, we live in a house, you raise your family, whatever it is, your goings on are in that house. You accumulate personal effects, some of which you may find to be totally beautiful and you couldn't live without. And some other person might wonder why you have a Cochina doll collection sitting in your curio cabinet. It may be that the pictures and the tchotchkes and all that kind of stuff come down to a certain extent. You don't want a bare house, but at the same time, you don't want someone walking in a house where they can't see their family in there. All they can see is your family in there. I think it's much more of a mental thing than it is, people aren't going to buy the house because there's pictures of my kids. No, the idea is that, again, in sales, you're trying to show that house. You want them to take ownership of it. You want them to imagine what it would be like to live there, their kids to be there, their furniture to be there. That's why sometimes a vacant house gets staged. It's not personal effects, but it's enough to show someone what it would look like.
570 WSYR.